Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a leadership crisis that, according to a really insightful article from Sudhir Kabar, is holding back workplaces all across Nepal. So let's start with a feeling I think a lot of us know. You ever get that sense that you've just hit a wall at work? You feel kind of stuck, maybe even a little invisible, and you just know you could be doing more? Well, it turns out that feeling isn't just in your head. It's actually a symptom of a much, much bigger problem. And here's the article's big claim. The problem isn't the employees. The real issue, the thing that's draining morale and tanking productivity all over Nepal, is a crisis in leadership. So what does that actually mean? Let's get into it. Okay, so where does a crisis this big even come from? Well, it starts right at the top, with how people get into positions of power in the first place. A huge part of the problem comes down to this. Leadership roles are far too often filled based on who you know, not what you can do. It's about connections, not competence. And that completely changes the game, right? A position of responsibility becomes just a platform for personal gain. And the result of that, you get a culture of fear. When leaders are chosen that way, skilled employees they hold back. Sharing a new idea suddenly feels risky, innovation dies before it can even start, and the whole organization just grinds to a halt. Now, to really get what's going on here, we have to look at a really critical distinction, one that gets right to the heart of the problem and also the solution. The source uses this very specific Nepali term, Hakimgiri, to describe this whole negative style. You can think of it as bossism. It's not about real leadership. It's just about the performance of power, giving orders and demanding respect. Full stop. And here you can see the two models side by side. It's so clear, right? On one side, you have that Hakimgiri boss. They manage through fear, they take all the credit, and they're the first to point fingers when things go wrong. But on the other side, you have a real leader, someone who inspires trust, shares the credit, and takes responsibility. It's the difference between commanding and coaching. So if Hakimgiri is the disease, then what's the cure? The article calls it asal netitois, or good leadership. But what does that actually look like day to day? It all starts with something that sounds incredibly simple, but is actually incredibly powerful. Before they give a single order, a true leader listens. They make it a priority to actually hear their team's ideas, their concerns, their suggestions. That one simple act builds the whole foundation for mutual respect. And that listening builds trust. But you can't just demand trust, right? It has to be earned. And that means being transparent, even when the news isn't great. It means having the humility to say, you know what, I was wrong. And it means creating a space where people feel safe enough to speak up and give you honest feedback. This points to a kind of powerful paradox in leadership. Real strength doesn't come from pretending you have all the answers. Like the source says, when a leader accepts their weaknesses, trust within the team grows stronger. It's actually that humility, that vulnerability, that makes a team feel connected and secure. And it all boils down to this. When the team wins, a true leader steps back and shines the spotlight on them. They make sure the credit is shared. It might sound like a small gesture, but that single act is one of the most powerful motivators you can possibly imagine. But hang on, great leadership isn't just about being a supportive listener. It's also about pushing the team to do amazing things. And that requires a very delicate and really important balance. See, according to the article, this is a mistake a lot of leaders in Nepal make. They set these incredibly high expectations, they assign these huge responsibilities, but then they provide almost no resources, no training, no support to actually get it done. That is just a recipe for burnout and failure. So the ideal model, the growth formula, is this. You still set those high expectations. You still challenge your team to be great, but you match that challenge with an equally high level of support. You give them the guidance, the tools, and the coaching they need to meet that challenge. That is where real growth happens. You know, this really goes back to a fundamental shift in perspective. It's about seeing your team members as whole people, with their own stories and struggles and hopes, not just as cogs in a machine or names on a spreadsheet. When people feel truly seen, their commitment and creativity just skyrocket. Okay, let's zoom out for a second and connect all this back to the bigger picture. Because this isn't just about making offices a little bit nicer. The article argues that this is about the entire country's progress and its future. This brings us to what might be the most powerful idea in the whole piece. The real goal of a leader isn't to create a bunch of followers who just depend on them. It's to do the exact opposite. It's to empower people to become confident, capable leaders in their own right. So, in the end, fixing this leadership crisis isn't just a business goal. It's fundamental to building a more prosperous, a more self-reliant nation. Why? Because better leaders build better institutions, and better institutions build a better country. It's that simple, and it's that profound. So, to wrap this up, let's make it personal. Whether you're officially in charge of a team or you're a member of one, leadership is a quality we can all work on. So, thinking about your own role, what's the one change you can make tomorrow to be a better leader or a more empowered team member?